They say the darkest demons don't break through locked doors, they come when we invite them in. And sometimes, without even realizing it, our prayers become those very invitations. What you're about to learn today could fundamentally change your spiritual life. There are prayers that seem innocent on the surface, but carry hidden poison. Prayers that millions of people make every day, unknowingly inviting forces they'd rather keep at bay. I've spent years studying ancient spiritual texts and modern cases of prayer gone wrong. The patterns are undeniable and the consequences are real. But here's what's fascinating. It's not just about what you say in your prayers. It's about the invisible intentions woven between your words. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal 7 types of prayers that act like spiritual boomerangs, coming back to harm the very person who sent them out. You'll discover why some of your well-intended prayers might be working against you, and more importantly, how to transform them into genuine connections with the divine. This isn't just another video about prayer. It's a warning, a revelation, and ultimately, a guide to protecting your spiritual well-being. The truth about these prayers needs to be understood, because what you don't know could be slowly corrupting your spiritual connection. Stay with me, because knowing this could save you from years of hidden spiritual warfare. Power corrupts, and it starts with a whisper, a seemingly innocent prayer asking for control over our circumstances, over other people, over life itself. Most don't recognize this prayer when it first forms in their hearts. It disguises itself as wisdom, as responsibility, as righteous leadership. Deep within human nature lies an ancient hunger for dominance, a desire to shape reality according to our will. We mask these prayers in noble intentions. Give me influence to help others. Grant me authority to guide the lost. Bestow upon me power to change the world. Yet beneath these sacred-sounding words often lurks a darker truth, pride masquerading as purpose. History echoes with cautionary tales of those who prayed for power. Sacred texts speak of kings who began as humble servants but were corrupted when their prayers for guidance transformed into demands for control. Modern spiritual leaders have fallen from grace after their pure intentions warped into power-seeking missions. What makes this prayer so seductive is its gradual nature. It begins pure, a genuine desire to make positive change. Then subtly, almost imperceptibly, it shifts. We start praying not just for strength to serve, but for power to command. Not just for wisdom to guide, but for authority to rule. Not just for ability to help, but for control to dominate. Signs of this corruption manifest in subtle ways. Growing frustration when others don't follow our divine guidance. Anger when our spiritual authority is questioned. Resentment when our blessed leadership is challenged. These emotions reveal the true nature of our prayers. Not service, but control. The most dangerous is how this prayer blinds us to our own corruption. We become so convinced of our righteous intentions that we can't see how far we've strayed from genuine spiritual connection. We mistake our growing isolation for spiritual elevation, our increasing rigidity for divine conviction. True spiritual power flows through us, not from us. It serves rather than controls, guides rather than demands, influences through love rather than authority. When we pray for power itself, we disconnect from this divine flow, attempting to grasp what should only be channeled. Prayers meant for blessing become curses when tainted by comparison. Inside prayer rooms and sacred spaces worldwide, countless souls unknowingly poison their spiritual connection through a subtle yet destructive practice, measuring their blessings against others. Why did they receive that promotion? Whispers through gritted teeth during prayer. How come their marriage is perfect while mine struggles? Seeps into meditation. Please let my children outperform theirs, masks itself as parental concern. Each comparison-laden prayer drives a wedge between our spirit and authentic divine connection. Most devastating is how this prayer corrupts gratitude into resentment. A neighbor's new home becomes a source of spiritual distress. A friend's healing miracle transforms into personal punishment. Another's spiritual growth morphs into evidence of divine favoritism. Soon every blessing witnessed becomes a perceived slight against our own worthiness. Sacred wisdom warns about comparison's poisonous nature, not just in actions, but in prayers. When prayers become measuring sticks, they cease being bridges to divine connection. Instead, they transform into tools of self-torture, each petition laced with envy's subtle venom. Signs of comparison. Poison prayer reveal themselves through emotional after effects. Bitterness after hearing good news about others. Hollow congratulations masking internal grief. Immediate self-reflection on personal lack when witnessing others' abundance. These emotions signal prayers that have become spiritual scorecards rather than sacred. Comparison in prayer creates spiritual blind spots. While focusing on others' gardens, our own withers from neglect. While measuring others' spiritual journeys, we stray from our unique path. While counting others' blessings, we become blind to countless gifts surrounding us. Divine abundance flows uniquely for each soul, like countless streams following distinct paths to reach one ocean. When comparison infiltrates prayer, we essentially demand all streams follow our preferred route. This not only blocks our appreciation of our own stream, but disrupts our understanding of abundance's infinite nature. Genuine prayer thrives in personal sanctuary, uncontaminated by sideways glances at others' paths. It flourishes when rooted in direct divine connection, free from social scorekeeping. True spiritual growth happens when prayers focus on internal transformation rather than external competition. Sacred words become spiritual weapons when wielded as tools of manipulation. Between whispered petitions and earnest pleas lies a dangerous territory where prayer transforms from divine conversation into subtle coercion. Most troubling, many who engage in manipulative prayer believe they're acting from love. Please guide them to choose my path. Show them I was right. Make them see things my way. These seemingly innocent prayers mask deeper attempts to override others' free will. Prayer becomes a spiritual remote control, attempting to program others' choices according to our desires. What makes manipulative prayer particularly insidious is its noble disguise. Parents pray for children to make right choices, meaning choices they personally approve. Spouses pray for partners to see truth, meaning adopt their perspective. Friends pray for others to find direction, meaning follow their advised path. Behind these prayers often lurks fear, fear of losing control, fear of being wrong, fear of others' autonomy. Rather than facing these fears directly, manipulation through prayer provides an apparently holy alternative. It feels cleaner than direct control, more righteous than obvious coercion. Signs of manipulative prayer emerge in patterns. Constant prayers about others' decisions. Frustration when others maintain autonomy despite our prayers. Anger when divine influence doesn't match our desired timeline or direction. Each reaction reveals prayer has become less about connection and more about control. And spiritual manipulation through prayer creates invisible barriers in relationships. While we believe we're helping guide others, we're actually building walls of resentment. Those being prayed about often sense the underlying manipulation, creating resistance not just to our prayers, but to spiritual connection itself. Most concerning is how manipulative prayer damages our own spiritual growth. By focusing on controlling others' paths, we neglect walking our own. By attempting to override others' free will, we paradoxically surrender our own spiritual authenticity. In trying to play divine puppet master, we tangle our own spiritual strings. Pure prayer respects boundaries, both divine and human. It acknowledges that true spiritual growth cannot be forced or manipulated. It recognizes that each soul must walk its own path, make its own choices, learn its own lessons. When prayer becomes manipulation, it ceases being prayer and becomes spiritual interference. Pride pollutes prayer faster than poison taints water. Within sacred spaces and quiet moments of devotion, countless souls fall into a subtle trap, using prayer as a platform for spiritual superiority. What begins as genuine devotion slowly morphs into a stage for self-righteousness. Thank you that I'm not like those who stray. Grant me wisdom to guide these lost souls. Show others through my example. Such prayers might sound noble, yet they carry pride's deadly venom. Each word pushes us further from genuine spiritual connection, while convincing us we're drawing closer. Most deceptive about prideful prayer is its self-reinforcing nature. Every perceived spiritual achievement becomes evidence of divine favor. Each religious observance transforms into proof of superior devotion. All spiritual insights mutate into confirmation of exceptional righteousness. Soon, prayer becomes less about divine connection and more about spiritual performance. Signs of pride-infected prayer manifest in subtle ways, praying louder when others are present, sharing spiritual insights to impress rather than serve, mentioning prayer habits to establish spiritual superiority, looking down on those who pray differently. Each action reveals prayer has become a tool for ego rather than enlightenment. Pride creates spiritual blindness so complete that its victims cannot recognize their condition. While believing they soar to spiritual heights, they actually sink into ego's quicksand. As they congratulate themselves on spiritual progress, they move further from authentic divine connection. Their prayers become mirrors reflecting self-admiration rather than windows opening to divine wisdom. Most destructive is how pride corrupts prayer's fundamental purpose. Instead of bridging heaven and earth, it builds monuments to self. Rather than fostering divine connection, it feeds spiritual narcissism. Where true prayer should dissolve ego, prideful prayer inflates it. Divine wisdom consistently warns about pride's poisonous effect on spiritual life. Like a shadow that grows longer as we walk away from light, spiritual pride expands as we distance ourselves from genuine humility. Each pride-healed prayer adds another brick to a wall between us and authentic spiritual growth. True prayer thrives in humility's fertile soil. It grows not from showcasing spiritual achievements, but from acknowledging our constant need for divine guidance. Authentic prayer comes from recognizing our place in an infinite universe, not from elevating ourselves above others. Sacred spaces echo with spiritual negotiations, bargains struck in desperate moments, deals proposed in whispered prayers. If you grant this request, I'll never sin again. Give me this blessing and I'll donate more. Make this happen and I'll become a better person. Prayer transforms from divine communion into cosmic commerce. Bargaining prayers reveal a fundamental misunderstanding of spiritual connection. Like merchants in an ancient marketplace, people approach divinity with offers and counter-offers, treating sacred relationship like a business transaction. Each prayer becomes a proposal, each petition a deal waiting to be struck. Most concerning about bargaining prayers is their conditional nature. Love becomes transactional, devotion temporary, faith circumstantial. When prayers turn into negotiations, spiritual growth stagnates. Instead of developing genuine connection, believers become spiritual contractors, always calculating their next offer. Signs of bargaining prayer appear in patterns: making promises during crisis moments, offering increased devotion in exchange for specific outcomes, threatening to abandon faith if requests aren't granted, setting deadlines for divine response. Each behavior exposes prayer's transformation from relationship into. Behind bargaining prayers often lies fear and desperation. People facing challenges naturally seek control through negotiation. Yet attempting to bargain with divine forces reveals deep misconceptions about spiritual reality. True divine love can't be bought. Authentic connection can't be negotiated. Genuine blessings can't be traded. Spiritual bargaining creates a dangerous cycle. When deals appear successful, they reinforce transactional approaches to faith. When bargains seem to fail, they breed resentment and spiritual disconnection. Either outcome damages authentic spiritual growth, replacing genuine devotion with spiritual commerce. Most damaging is how bargaining prayers affect long-term spiritual development. Rather than fostering trust, they build dependency on deals. Instead of developing faith, they cultivate spiritual materialism. Where authentic prayer should deepen divine connection, bargaining prayer reduces it to mere exchange. Divine wisdom teaches that true spiritual connection flourishes in unconditional love. Authentic prayer flows from genuine devotion, not desperate deals. Real faith grows through trust, not transactions. When prayer becomes bargaining, it loses its transformative power, becoming merely spiritual haggling in sacred spaces. Pain transforms sacred petitions into spiritual weapons when revenge infiltrates prayer. Between whispered curses and masked malice, countless souls twist divine connection into a channel for retribution. Make them suffer as I have. Show them what true pain feels like. Let justice strike them down. Each vengeful prayer corrupts spiritual energy into toxic force. Within prayer rooms worldwide, hearts burning with revenge turn holy moments into plotting sessions. What makes revenge prayers particularly destructive is their self-justifying nature. People convince themselves they're praying for justice when they're really seeking satisfaction in another's suffering. Each petition for divine punishment carries seeds of personal vindication. Most insidious about revenge prayers is how they poison both target and sender. While focusing spiritual energy on another's downfall, internal darkness grows. As prayers for others' suffering intensify, personal peace diminishes. Every vengeful thought wrapped in prayer's clothing rebounds, creating spiritual self-harm. Signs of revenge-tainted prayer reveal themselves through emotional residue. Satisfaction when hearing about others' misfortunes. Disappointment when perceived enemies succeed. Constant rehearsal of past hurts during prayer time. These reactions expose prayer's transformation from healing tool into weapon of warfare. Spiritual wisdom consistently warns about revenge's corrupting influence. Like drinking poison while hoping others die, revenge prayers primarily damage those who pray them. By channeling divine connection into vehicles for vengeance, people disconnect from authentic spiritual power. Each revenge-laden prayer builds stronger walls between heart and healing. Most devastating is how revenge prayers block genuine spiritual growth. While focusing on others' punishment, personal transformation stagnates. When prayer time becomes revenge planning, opportunities for healing pass unused. As attention fixes on others' downfall, chances for personal rising slip away. Divine power flows through channels of forgiveness, not fury. Authentic prayer opens paths to healing, not harboring hatred. True spiritual connection transforms pain into peace, not plots for punishment. When revenge infiltrates prayer, it corrupts this sacred alchemy, turning potential healing into sustained hurting. Sacred spaces should echo with words of healing, not hatred. Prayer's purpose involves lifting spirits, not plotting falls. Divine connection thrives in hearts open to forgiveness, not closed by vengeance. Breaking free from revenge prayer's grip requires recognizing its toxic nature and choosing higher paths of spiritual expression. Sacred altars transform into shopping lists when material desires dominate prayer. Behind closed doors and in quiet moments, spiritual connection becomes a conduit for consumerism. Bless me with that new house. Grant me luxury beyond measure. Multiply my wealth tenfold. Prayer shifts from divine communion into material manifestation sessions. Modern spirituality often masks materialism in religious language. People kneel before infinite divinity while hearts fixate on finite possessions. What begins as genuine seeking gradually morphs into spiritual shopping sprees. Each prayer becomes less about connection and more about acquisition, turning sacred spaces into cosmic catalogs. The most deceptive about materialistic prayer is its subtle corruption of genuine needs into endless wants. Basic requests for provision balloon into demands for luxury. Prayers for daily bread expand into petitions for endless feasts. Simple gratitude for necessities warps into constant craving for excess. Soon prayer serves wealth rather than wisdom. Signs of materially superior prayer emerge through patterns, measuring spiritual success through material gain, equating divine favor with financial prosperity, treating prayer as a manifestation technique rather than relationship building, converting sacred time into planning sessions for acquisition. Each pattern reveals prayer's shift from spiritual to material focus. Behind materialistic prayer often lurks deep insecurity. People seek security through possessions rather than presence, stability through stuff rather than spirit. Yet pursuing material solutions through spiritual means creates dangerous confusion. True abundance flows from divine connection, not material collection. Most concerning is how material focus distorts prayer's fundamental nature. Rather than opening hearts to divine wisdom, it closes minds around worldly wishes. Instead of fostering spiritual growth, it feeds material attachment. Where authentic prayer should free souls from earthly chains, materialistic prayer forges stronger links. Divine wisdom consistently warns about wealth's spiritual dangers. Like thorns choking sacred seeds, excessive material focus suffocates spiritual growth. Each prayer, centered on possessions rather than presence, pulls attention further from authentic connection. Material worship, disguised as prayer, gradually replaces divine relationship with resource. True prayer transcends material concerns without ignoring human needs. It seeks divine wisdom in managing resources rather than merely accumulating them. Authentic spiritual connection balances necessary provision with higher purpose, recognizing that true wealth lies in spiritual growth rather than material gain. Prayers wield power beyond human comprehension, power that can illuminate paths or cast devastating shadows. Through this journey of understanding dangerous prayers, one truth emerges crystal clear. Prayer's purpose transcends mere asking and receiving. It exists as sacred communion, divine connection, and spiritual transformation. These 7 prayers. Most profound is how these prayers reveal deeper truths about human nature. Our desire for control manifests in prayers for power. Our insecurity surfaces in prayers of comparison. Our fear emerges in manipulative petitions. Our ego shows through pride in words of words. Our desperation appears in bargaining pleas. Our pain erupts in vengeful requests. Our attachment glows in materialistic demand. Yet within this understanding lies hope. By recognizing these prayer traps, we gain ability to avoid them. When tempted to pray for power, we can instead seek wisdom to serve. When comparison threatens, we can cultivate gratitude for our unique path. When manipulation beckons, we can respect others' free will. When pride rises, we can embrace humility. When bargaining calls, we can trust divine timing. When revenge burns, we can choose forgiveness. When materialism knocks, we can seek spiritual wealth. True prayer creates transformation through relationship, not transaction. It opens hearts rather than controlling circumstances. It builds bridges instead of barriers. It heals wounds rather than inflicting them. It frees souls instead of binding them. Most importantly, it connects rather than corrupts. Divine wisdom teaches that authentic prayer flows like pure water, clear, life-giving, and free from contamination. It requires no manipulation, bargaining, or revenge. It needs no pride, comparison, or material focus. Pure prayer simply opens hearts to divine presence, allowing sacred connection to transform both prayer and person. Moving forward requires conscious choice in prayer practice. Each moment of prayer presents opportunity to control or surrender, to compare or appreciate, to manipulate or respect, to pride or humble, to bargain or trust, to revenge or forgive, to grasp or release. These choices shape not just our prayers, but our spiritual journey. Sacred texts across traditions warn about prayer's potential for both blessing and curse. Like powerful medicine wrongly applied becoming poison, prayer misused can harm rather than heal. Yet when approached with pure intention and humble heart, prayer remains humanity's most potent tool for spiritual transformation. This knowledge carries responsibility. Now aware of these prayer traps, we must choose more conscious paths. Each prayer moment invites us to check intentions, examine motives, and align hearts with higher purpose. Through this awareness, prayer can fulfill its true purpose, not as tool for personal gain, but as bridge to divine connection. In closing, remember that prayer's power lies not in perfect words, but in pure intention. Not in controlled outcomes, but in surrendered hearts. Not in material gains, but in spiritual growth. True prayer transforms the one who prays more than the circumstances prayed about. If this message resonated with your spirit and opened new understanding about prayer's sacred nature, take a moment to support our spiritual community. Press that like button to help others discover these crucial insights. Subscribe to join our journey of spiritual exploration and growth. By sharing this wisdom, you become part of a movement toward more conscious, transformative. Turn on notifications to ensure you never miss our future revelations about spiritual growth and divine connection. Together, we can build a community dedicated to authentic prayer and genuine spiritual transformation. Most importantly, carry these insights into your own prayer life. Let them guide you toward deeper, purer connection with divine presence. For in the end, prayer's greatest power lies not in what we ask for, but in how it transforms who we become. May your prayers flow pure, your intentions stay clear, and your spiritual journey lead to authentic transformation. Until next time, keep your hearts open to divine wisdom and your prayers free from these dangerous traps.